Okay, the sun kind of feels. I mean, the sun isn't. I can't see him anymore, but it feels nice. I feel very clear. There's a lot of clarity in my face right now. A lot of clarity in this room. But I found the poem, and it is titled. Oh, there is no title. Oh, that's right. This poem was inspired by the documentary Sugarcane, which, if you don't know, was diving into the egregious things that happened at the St. Joseph's Mission in Canada. I forget where in Canada. I'll put it up here. But infanticide and murder of young women and men who went there. It was really hard to watch, but it was really necessary to watch. And I forgot the director's name. Something Cats. I'll also put that up there. This is so sad. I wish I could remember these. My brain is everywhere though all the time. It was an incredible documentary, and it was so interesting to watch someone whose family was affected by these murders be coming to these realizations while the documentary is happening. Because he leads it, and he's trying, his purpose is to learn more about his father's experience at St. Joseph's Mission. His father went there as a child, and he doesn't like to talk about it. And he was trying to respect that, but at some point the son was like, I mean, we have to talk about these things. I want to know. Like, I want to know what happened, and I want to know how it affected our relationship. It was very clear in the documentary that him and his father didn't really have the best relationship, and it definitely, as he and his father both knew, it was a result of what his father and plenty other indigenous people, what was the nation? I'll put it above as well. I'm sorry, my brain is not good. What they experienced, and it affected their relationship. It was just interesting to watch this person, part of a diasporic community who has been wronged by colonialism that still affects us to this day in many different ways, come to these realizations of just how deep the pain ran in his family and in his community. I don't really know what else, but I'd encourage everybody to go watch it. Where did I watch it? I watched it on Hulu. It's on Hulu. I think it's on Apple TV too. Yeah, I wrote this poem. I wrote this poem because of that. It was a really, I don't know, like when you know all the wrong that has been placed on your people, when you are also coming from a similar background, knowing all the wrong, like myself, like just all the struggles that black and indigenous, black and brown people in general across this world, when you understand what it's like to constantly have to think about the injustices that you have to face simply for being a shade of the rainbow, it's just sickening. And it hits close to home naturally because it's just ugly. And all of our ancestors had, in their own way, something to fight against, something caused by another man's hands that was grabbing for power in ways that were just unspeakable, in ways that aimed to dehumanize you so much that you don't even know yourself anymore. You don't even know where you come from. You don't know the whole story of your family, of your people, of your communities. You don't really know your language, your spiritual practices, which a lot of indigenous communities continue to hold on to and try to teach their young ones, which is very, very important. Every time I really sit and I really just think about that, it's like, what more? What more could happen? And why did this need to happen? This was a whole new level of just evil. I was gonna say human indecency. This is just evil. And I feel like there's a better word than evil, something that can truly capture the essence of the ugliness in humanity, or maybe it can't, because it's just unspeakable. You just really sit and think about it. And it all just hits you like a wave. And so when I was watching this documentary, it was all just really hitting me left and right. I know there are plenty more people, especially who have stories like his. Incredibly hard to watch, incredibly difficult to process, but necessary to see nonetheless. And with that, I want to just say, to this day, we should be seeking justice for all the missing and murdered children from a lot of these, what do they call them? Boarding schools? Hell schools is what I'm going to call them. Justice for all the missing and murdered Indigenous women and young men out there as well. Because for some ridiculous reason, we're still fighting for those things. And to the Land Back movement, which has been going strong for many, many years. And I also wanted to bring light to Leonard Peltier, who finally got released a few months ago from prison in unjust confinement. I know a lot of people have been fighting for him for a really, really long time, especially those of the American Indian movement. There's a account I follow on both Threads and Instagram that I'll put here, who has also been part of that fight to get him back. Ooh, okay. So this is just titled Inspired by Sugarcane. So it's actually unfinished, but I'm going to read it so far. There's a demon at our doorstep. He passes through us all. With him we've shook his hand. He's dined within our halls. He visits from the past. They say he never dies. He travels through our pain, our bodies his disguise. By way of open wounds we cannot see ourselves. He dances in the blood we smear upon our shelves. A library unfolds from all this pain we share. They've written their own books and penned our names somewhere. This demon passing through us all must find his resting place. Our souls are not his home. We do not know him our grace. Our hearts are his opponent. With their strength we can contend. Pretending we are healthy will kill us in the end. After I finished Sugarcane, I sat there and I was really pondering about all of the content that I saw in that entire documentary, but especially the emotion, all the emotions that were just flying around in there from all the people involved, especially those who were affected, whose families were affected by these boarding schools, who were just, if I could say all the curses in the world, I would, but I don't want to rejoin the karmic cycle. I was really grappling with all those emotions, and I felt them deeply myself to some extent, in the ways that I could, in the ways that I could relate to. But also I just feel like being human, if you don't feel deeply about these things, if you don't cry when you see someone else being harmed, and you know you can do nothing about it because it was either years ago or it's something intangible. It was that intangibility, if that's a word, I'm just going to make it up, that I was speaking about. This demon. The demon was both to represent the colonizers that came and ruined everything, despite indigenous people in many different nations welcoming them in and saying, hey, we'll help you. We'll teach you how to, how to farm. We'll teach you how to use the water, you can, all the things. And in the end, they were just betrayed and deceived. Their land was stolen. Thanksgiving is a farce. They were intoxicated and forced to sign unfair treaties that took their land without them knowing, and then suddenly they were moved and killed. And this is the story of all indigenous people across the globe, but specifically here in the Americas. Well, at least that's the topic that we're on right now. And to all the stories that I don't know and haven't been taught and haven't researched yet, they're out there, and I just wanted to bring light to that for a second. The demon is both the human and the ugliness that is left behind when you've been harmed so much. Everything that you give is left behind in someone. It's residue that kind of rubs off of you, but it's not physical, it's emotional. All the harsh words that you say, all of the curses that you spit upon people, but especially all of the actions that you have done to strip away from another human being, those are left behind in anger. Of course you would be angry if somebody tried to take everything from you. Of course you would be broken if all you saw was your people left and right dying. If you traveled across this land where There's so many different nations that you come across and you see how they've been wronged by the same people. It's just, it leaves something behind in you. And I was looking at it both physically and emotionally in that sense. And I wanted to capture it in a poem, and I hope I did it justice. I'm still not done with it. I have to go back and finish it. I wanted to add one more stanza. I just feel like it needed that towards the end. But there's a demon passing through us all. What does it say again? There's a demon at our doorstep. He passes through us all. Basically insinuating, the colonizers coming to the shore and shaking hand with these indigenous leaders and people, pretending to be here for good reasons, knowing damn well that they were about to steal their land and completely ruin them all. And then that that frown that they leave behind all these years later, we see in people of today all across the globe who've been touched by colonialism. We see jovial people. We see a joviality. I don't even know, I'm making up words. We see happiness. We see life. We see a continuation of life, of beauty, and of joy, and of smiles. But then there's those people who have held on to that demon against their will. And you can see it in the way that they carry themselves, how they hunch over in their frowns. That frown never leaves some people, especially if they were directly affected by that ugliness within and outside of colonialism. But because that's the topic we're on, of course, that's what I'm speaking of. And I just really thought, like, it's just so sad. Someone who was forced to see the worst of humanity at such an early age. Speaking of these children in these schools, it should never happen. It should just never happen. Nobody should be harming one another. Of course, harm has existed for a long, long time, forever, but it's just wrong, especially with children. And I think about racism in all of its deepness, its depth, and I really just ask, like, how could you teach a small human being who just came into this world not too long ago how to hate someone else? Do you not see that you are robbing them of happiness as well? You're creating a monster within the body of a pure being. And as a young kid growing up around people who tell them, oh, we don't like those people because XYZ, ugh, yeah, go F them up, or da da da, I dare you to go, off them, There's people having conversations like this all around us. And even though there's also very beautiful human beings and a lot of kindness, a lot of people do smile in your face and they go home to that crap. And then there's people who are just overt about it. And you think, like, wow, the generation behind me, the generation now especially, is still being exposed to this stuff. I literally think all the time, like, all the people that attended lynchings, speaking of the Black American experience, just for, like, briefly, I'm like, these people are still alive. They're not dead. And they are teaching their children this. How could you teach someone that? To some extent, I do feel pity, but not a coddling pity, just like, wow, you really were filled and are continuing to fill your family with the very thing that'll strip away your own happiness. Tell me, are you happy? I just can't imagine being so hateful. I just can't. Like, hate does not give you anything. It takes away from both the bearer and the person that they give it to. It takes away from both of you, and it leaves behind a residue that sometimes you can't get rid of. And that's trauma. That's what that's called. I just find it so ridiculous that anything, like, hatred is the overarching, it's the blanket. And then there's so many terms beneath it that can go under it. But I'm just going to say hatred is so pointless. Hatred is so pointless. It is literally it's like the most pathetic thing I can think of. Why can't we just be good humans? Why can't we just be kind? We can have our own beliefs as long as they're not violent. You know what I'm saying? Everybody has the right to believe what they believe. I'm not going to combat that. But we can exist in harmony. I'm not over here trying to convince people of a side and whatever. That's not my job, nor do I care to do that. I will live over here, and I'll be me. I'm going to do me. And I hope that we can, at some point, be able to exist in the same space together without having this seed of hatred silently brewing in our guts, in our minds, in our hearts. We should be able to just be and not worry about all this bull crap that we filled our minds with. Why is racism even a thing? Why is hatred a thing? It robs us all. It doesn't give anyone anything. It robs us all, and it robs our children once we teach it to them. And that is robbing them of a life, of an entire life of happiness and freedom and creativity and full self-expression. It's just robbing people. And that's what I have to say about that. It's gotten dark, but I think I'm going to still do that last poem. It's an hour. This is an hour and 12 minutes. An hour and 13 in 1 second. This is crazy. I found it, and it's on my computer, so I'm going to be looking down. It is called As Above, So Below. Actually, I'm not going to read that because that's about black people only. And sometimes we have to make space for ourselves, so I'm going to close that up. This is going to be the end of that video. This video. I know that was a bit melancholic, but necessary nonetheless. The next video I'm going to film, I'm probably going to share a more positive rendition of our black and beautiful brown people of this entire world. Or maybe not. Maybe I'll do something else. We will see. Either way, it is love and positivity here. I'm a ball of light. I'm not tainted by the awful things in our world that unfortunately do taint many people. And even then, there's a lot of resilient people out here who have been through purgatory. But obviously, my brain is starting to clock out, so I'm going to end this now. Let me know what you think, and I will see you soon. That's that. Goodbye.